Pundranagar, the city of the Pundras, a powerful and famous city in ancient North Bengal that was also the capital of Pundravardhan, or the kingdom controlled by the Pundras. The kingdom controlled important trade routes and ancient politics of North Bengal and dominated by Paundra-kshatriyas. This city and its kingdom was famous for its elephant force and fierce warriors who also fought in the Kurukshetra war. In Mahabharata, their king Paundraka Vasudeva challenged Krishna and was killed by him. The Pundras supported Duryodhana and other Kaurava warriors in the famous war of Kurukshetra. The kingdom of the Pundras, bounded by river Padma in the south, river Ganga in the west, and river Karatwa in the east, covered the modern districts Rajshahi, Bogra, Pavna, and Dinajpur in Bangladesh and India. The kingdom founded by one Pundra, son of King Bali, during the late Vedic period and in the age of the Puranas, survived the great political turmoils that changed the history of ancient Bengal. It witnessed the rise and fall of the Mauryas, the Guptas, the Palas, and the Senas, and ultimately disappeared with the coming of Islam. The legendary and famous capital of the Pundras, Pundranagar, was lost forever until it was discovered during the British period, and people had come to know about this legendary kingdom mentioned in Puranas and ancient literature that once controlled and dominated the politics of North Bengal. The city of Pundranagar was founded by a prince named Pundra, son of Bali. This Bali was a legendary king who divided his kingdom among his 5 sons, Anga, Banga, Kalinga, Pundra, and Shumha. Bali was described as a Ashura king, and therefore the Pundras were later called degraded or fallen Kshatriyas. Bali's father was Shutapa and his mother was Prishni. He married Sudeshna and ruled over a vast territory. According to Harivangsha, Bali performed penance to please Brahma, who blessed him with boons of great knowledge and invincibility in battle. As King Bali had no sons, he wanted a male successor to continue his royal line. One day he saw Rishi Dirghatma floating on the river Ganga on a raft. The king rescued him and treated him very well. As the king wanted his wife Sudeshna to produce sons for him by this blind sage called Rishi Dirghatma, Sudeshna, according to her husband's wishes, gave birth to 5 sons, who later became the founder of 5 famous eastern kingdoms named Anga, Banga, Kalinga, Pundra, and Shumha kingdoms. King Bali then divided his vast kingdom among his 5 sons, and his son Pundra got the northern part of Bengal and established a city and kingdom called Pundranagar and Pundravardhan. Pundravardhan was a famous place which gave birth to many legends and stories. Jaina Acharya Bhadrabahu, the spiritual teacher of Emperor Chandragupta Maurya, was born in Pundravardhan to a Brahmin family. Acharya Bhadrabahu explained 16 famous dreams to Emperor Chandragupta Maurya, and whose teachings inspired Chandragupta Maurya to become ascetic in later life. Pundravardhan and its capital was also a center of the Ajivika school of thought, a Nastika school of ancient India, who criticized almost all the Vedic rites as well as Buddhism and Jainism. During the time of Ashoka, one of the members of Ajivika sect drew a picture of Gautam Buddha. The picture showed that Gautam Buddha was bowing at the feet of Nirgantra Gnatiputra. This picture enraged the Buddhist community, and they appealed to Emperor Ashoka to punish those responsible for this act. Accordingly, Ashoka issued an order to kill the Ajivikas who committed this crime. As a result, almost 18,000 Ajivikas were killed. and punished. The decline of the Ajivika influence witnessed the rise of Buddhism in northern Bengal. During 7th century AD, when Chinese scholar and traveler Hiuen Tsang visited this place, he witnessed it as a center of Buddhism. Hiuen Tsang found the city of Pundranagar full of temples, viharas, pleasure gardens, ponds, shops, and other things. During his time, the city was about 5 miles in circumference. There were 20 Buddhist monasteries with almost 3,000 monks and 100 Hindu temples scattered in the city. Hiuen Tsang also noticed the presence of Nigranthas or Jainas who roamed naked in the city. The kingdom of Pundravardhan connected China with the kingdom of Magadha. It controlled many important trade routes of that time. From Kajangala or present Rajmahal, Hiuen Tsang traveled east and crossed the river Ganga and reached Pundravardhan. From there he traveled further east and crossing another river he reached the kingdom of Kamarupa in Assam. Pundravardhan continued to be an important place till 12th century AD, when the old cities of Bengal declined one by one due to the arrival of Islam. Between 638 and 645 AD, the Chinese pilgrim Hiuen Tsang visited Pundranagara and gave us three important informations concerning the Buddhist influence. Firstly, he noticed a large stupa which he called Po Shi Po or Vashu Vihara. It was an educational institution and an important center of Buddhist learning and scholarship. Emperor Ashoka erected a large stupa on the body relic of Buddha. Secondly, Hiuen Tsang claimed that Buddha himself visited Pundranagar and stayed for 3 months, during which he preached his new doctrine. Thirdly, Hiuen Tsang's description highlight the contemporary economic condition of Pundravardhan and northern Bengal in general. It was a very prosperous region, rich in trade and commerce, and also a powerful political center. That was the foreign account of a Chinese traveler who visited Pundranagar during the time of Emperor Harshavardhan. But what other indigenous accounts or our Indian accounts tell about Pundravardhan? Among the Indian accounts that describe Pundravardhan in details, the most important account was that of poet Shandakar Nandi. Bengali poet Shandakar Nandi, who was patronized by Palo Emperor Madan Pala, hailed from a village near Pundravardhan and was the son of Prajapati Nandi, who was the minister of peace and war or Sandhi Vigrahika during the time of Emperor Ramapala. Shandakar Nandi's epic poem Ramachalitram, which narrates the story of Ramayana as well as the events during the time of Ramapala, was also an important historical document of that time. He described the most important political event during the time of Emperor Ramapala, and it was Barendra Rebellion. This Barendra Rebellion or Kaibarta Rebellion was an important event of North Bengal during 11th and 12th centuries, that is, the decline of the Pala influence in northern Bengal and the revival of it. Shandakar Nandi called this city Pundranagar, the crown jewel of Barendra. The city was no less important than other important cities of that time, namely Pataliputra, Ujjain or Gaur. According to Shandakar Nandi, the laborers, workers, commoners, and other citizens lived outside the protected area of the citadel. The city was full of palaces, mansions, of merchants and nobles, temples, halls, and so on. The city was very well planned and heavily fortified. Shandakar Nandi's depiction of Pundranagar as a rich and glorious city within the Pala Empire was an important historical fact that during the Koivarta rebellion, the city's importance remained the same. This was the description of Pundranagar during the middle of the 12th century AD. But what was the condition of Pundranagar during the Maurya and Gupta period? Was it rich enough at that time? Was it as important as during the last phase of the Pala Empire? We find its mention in Kautilya's Arthashastra. The silk of Paundra was smooth like emerald and was comparable to Magadhi silk during the time of Kautilya, who wrote Arthashastra. And it showed that the city of Pundranagar was very rich at that time and was connected to Pataliputra through trade and commerce. During 6th century AD, that is the later Gupta period, Barahamihira in his Brihat Samhita mentioned 6 Janapadas of eastern Bharat, that is Gaura, Tamralipta, Shamatata, Vardhaman, Vanga and Paundra. Pundranagar was a stronghold of the Gupta Empire, and from Damodarpur cover plate of Buddhagupta, we have come to know that Pundranagar was still an integral part of northern Bengal. For the Guptas, the Pundravardhan was a bhukti or territorial division of the Gupta Empire. The Gupta Emperor appointed a provincial governor called Uparika or Uparika Maharaja to govern Pundravardhan Bhukti. Inscriptions found during the Gupta period clearly show that Pundravardhan Bhukti was divided into several Vishayas or districts, and which was again subdivided into Bithis and Mandalas according to the administrative structure of the Gupta Empire. Buddhagupta's record also state that the upper or northern limit of Pundravardhan Bhukti was Himalaya. The Bhukti of Pundravardhan also expanded during the Pala period, and later records like Dhula copperplate inscription of Sri Chandra or Mehar copperplate of Damodara Deva mentioned the expanding status of Pundravardhan Bhukti. This condition of Pundravardhan continued from late Vedic period till the coming of the Muslim invaders, during which Pundravardhan lost its importance. After the Islamic conquest, the city of Pundravardhan was destroyed, forgotten, and lost forever, and it gradually became one of the lost cities of the world until, in modern times, the British archaeologists rediscovered it and identified the site of Mahashthangarh, now in Bangladesh, with ancient Pundranagar. Many Britishers contributed to the discovery and identification of Pundranagar with Mahashthangarh in Bogra district in northern Bangladesh. In 1808, Francis Buchanan Hamilton was the first European to locate Mahashthangarh, and in 1889, Alexander Cunningham identified the place Mahashthangarh with the ancient capital of Pundravardhan. In our next episode, we will cover the story of its discovery and excavation of Mahashthangarh that led to the discovery of this beautiful and ancient city called Pundranagar.